Welcome viewers. Speaker Mike Johnson took to Fox News with a strong and emotional response after Representative Ilhan Omar's controversial remarks regarding the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk sent shockwaves through Washington and beyond. Johnson made it clear that this is not the time for political attacks or inflammatory language, but rather a moment for Americans to unite in grief and reflection. He emphasized that Omar's comments, where she offered sympathy to Kirk's family, were quickly clouded by her accusations against him, which Johnson described as disrespectful and deeply divisive. Just watch this clip.
Well, you talk about Charlie and how he was in engaging with people, and yet there are a lot of folks out there who say that's the opposite of his legacy. They're portraying him as a hateful, bigoted person. I want to play something from Congresswoman Ilhan Omar speaking about him and what he was really like and what his purpose was this week.
There are a lot of people who are out there talking about him just wanting to have a civil debate.
A complete rewriting of history.
These people are full of shit, and it's important for us to call them out while we feel anger and sadness and have, empathy.
And she was referring more broadly to a lot of people on the right that she says have now resulted in her having death threats and the need for around-the-clock security, which I know you've talked about. That's not something you can do for every member. It would cost billions of dollars. But what do you make of her characterization that he really wasn't about civil debates?
She clearly has no idea what she's talking about. She has not followed Charlie. She's playing into this characterization of him that the left has been advancing. There are people actually celebrating his murder online, and that tells you everything you need to know about that side. We've got to get cut through that. Look, member security is a serious matter. We're looking into all options to increase security measures so that they have plenty of coverage for their residential security and their personal security as well. And I think we'll be able to handle that. But there is this angst out there, and we got to turn the rhetoric down. That is exactly the opposite of what we should be doing, what you just saw in that video right there. And I hope all members of Congress will join us. Look, we've been very active in trying to carry on and really, I think, portray clearly what Charlie was about. And his record speaks for itself. He was a Christian, a committed believer. He understood what Scripture teaches, what you and I understand, Shannon, that our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and spiritual darkness. And Charlie understood. He put on, as it says there in Ephesians 6, the full armor of God to go out and advance truth and do it in love. And that's exactly what he did. That's what his legacy stands for. And everyone around this country who is mourning his death understands that, in spite of what some of these voices are saying.
Johnson, visibly firm in his tone, argued that leaders have a duty to set an example of dignity and compassion, especially during moments of national tragedy, and that Omar's approach only served to inflame tensions rather than bring people together. He stressed that words carry power, and in the wake of such a shocking loss, the American people deserve empathy, not bitterness. Omar, however, defended her remarks during her interview with Mehdi Hasan, reiterating both condolences to Kirk's family and criticism of his legacy, accusing him of fueling hateful rhetoric and ignoring the struggles of marginalized communities. Her blunt language, saying, "These people are full of S," sparked a firestorm, with conservatives blasting her for insensitivity, some even demanding her resignation, while Omar insisted she condemns violence and does not celebrate Kirk's death. The political fallout has only intensified, with Johnson and other Republicans framing the controversy as a clear example of how rhetoric can divide a grieving nation, while Omar's defenders argue she was speaking honestly about Kirk's impact. This clash has once again highlighted the fragile and polarized state of American politics, where even moments of tragedy quickly spiral into partisan warfare instead of shared mourning and reflection.